desert greeted me with a profound silence, the kind that wraps itself around you, comforting and unnerving all at once. The vast expanse of golden dunes seemed to stretch endlessly, meeting the horizon in soft, undulating waves. I had been walking for hours when the sun began its descent. The sky turned shades of orange and pink, the kind of colors that artists spend lifetimes trying to capture. The air was warm, but not oppressive, and carried the faint scent of something ancient, stone and earth, unchanged for millennia. Setting down my pack, I chose a spot on the crest of a dune to make camp. From here, I could see the sun sink into the horizon, leaving a trail of stars in its wake. As the night deepened, the silence became a gentle hum, broken only by the soft hiss of the wind as it moved through the dunes. Lying on my back, I gazed at the sky, a vast canvas of stars. Their light felt close, almost tangible, as if I could reach out and catch one in my palm. Sleep came easily, as though the desert itself had wrapped me in a warm embrace. The sound woke me just before dawn. It was faint at first, like the soft rustle of leaves, but there were no trees here. I sat up, scanning the horizon, my heart pounding. The whisper grew louder, though still gentle, melodic, and almost inviting. It was unlike anything I had ever heard, a sound that seemed to vibrate within me rather than around me. I stood, instinctively following the sound, my feet sinking into the cool sand. The whisper seemed to dance on the breeze, leading me up a towering dune. As I reached the summit, the first rays of sunlight broke over the horizon, painting the dunes in shades of gold and amber. The whisper faded, replaced by a profound stillness. Yet, in that moment, I felt as though the desert itself was watching, waiting for me to take the next step. The day passed in a haze of heat and light. The sun blazed overhead, and the sand seemed to shimmer with a life of its own. I trudged onward, though I wasn't sure where I was going. By midday, my eyes caught something unusual, a single star, faint but visible in the bright blue sky. It flickered gently, almost as if it were winking at me. The star became my guide, a beacon in the vastness of the desert. I followed it for hours, its light constant and reassuring. As the sun began to set, the star seemed to grow brighter, leading me to the crest of another dune. Below, nestled in the valley, was something extraordinary, a lush oasis, its waters glistening like a silver mirror under the fading light. The oasis was more beautiful than I could have imagined. Tall palm trees surrounded a crystal clear pool, their fronds swaying gently in the breeze. Brightly colored flowers dotted the edges, their petals opening as if to greet the night. I knelt by the water's edge and dipped my hands in. The water was cool, its surface so clear I could see the smooth stones at the bottom. As I drank, a wave of calm washed over me, deeper and more profound than any I had ever known. I sat beneath a palm tree, my back against its sturdy trunk. The whispers had grown softer here, blending with the rustle of leaves and the gentle ripple of water. The oasis felt alive, a sanctuary here within the desert's vast expanse. That night, I dreamed of the dunes whispering secrets, their shifting forms telling stories of ancient times. When I awoke, the first rays of sunlight were filtering through the palm fronds, and the whispers had returned, urging me onward. As I walked away from the oasis, the whispers guided me toward a flat expanse of sand that sparkled like gold under the morning sun. There, I saw a figure crouched on the ground, its hands moving in deliberate, graceful motions. The figure was unlike anything I'd seen before, its body appeared to be made of sand, shifting and reforming with every movement. It glowed faintly, a golden aura that pulsed in rhythm with the whispers. I approached cautiously, and the being looked up, its eyes bright and kind. Without speaking, it gestured for me to sit. As I watched, it began to sculpt the sand. Its hands moved with incredible precision, shaping the grains into intricate forms, animals, flowers, even tiny buildings. Each sculpture seemed to tell a story, though I couldn't understand the language. Finally, it sculpted a figure that looked just like me. When it was finished, the being placed a hand over its heart, and the sculpture dissolved into a golden mist. The mist swirled around me, filling me with warmth and a sense of belonging. The being stood and bowed before vanishing into the dunes, leaving behind only the faint caravan's passengers didn't speak, but their presence was comforting, as if they had been expecting me. We traveled through the night, the desert stretching endlessly around us. The stars above seemed to shine brighter, their light casting gentle patterns on the sand. As dawn approached, the caravan stopped at the edge of a vast dune. One of the beings gestured for me to step off the vessel, its eyes filled with a silent message: "Your path continues here." As the caravan disappeared into the distance, I turned to see a shimmering mirage hovering above the dunes. It flickered like heat waves, but as I approached, it solidified into something extraordinary, a city made entirely of light. The buildings were crystalline, their walls refracting the sunlight into rainbows that danced across the sand. The air was filled with a soft, chiming music, and the streets were lined with beings of light who moved gracefully, their forms fluid and radiant. One of the beings approached me, its voice a melody that resonated within my mind. "Welcome, traveler. This is the Mirage City, a place that exists between moments, where dreams take form." I wandered through the city, marveling at its beauty. Every corner held something new: a fountain that flowed with golden light, a garden where flowers bloomed in patterns of starlight, and a library filled with books that seemed to hum with energy. The beings spoke in riddles, their words both confusing and enlightening. "The desert's greatest gift," one of them said, "is its silence. In it, you will find your truth." When the sun began to set, the city began to fade, its light blending with the colors of the evening sky. I found myself standing alone on the dunes, the whispers once again guiding my steps. As twilight descended, the desert transformed. The sands, bathed in silver light, seemed to glow softly under the full moon. A narrow path of white, luminous sand stretched before me, winding gently through the dunes. The whispers grew clearer as I stepped onto the path, their tones hushed and reverent, as if urging me to tread lightly. I followed the trail, marveling at how the moon seemed to guide my way, casting everything in a serene glow. The path led me to a cliff overlooking a vast, moonlit plain. Below, I saw the sands shifting, forming patterns like ripples on a pond. I realized the desert was alive, breathing in rhythm with the whispers. Standing there, I felt an overwhelming sense of connection. The desert wasn't just a place, it was a presence, ancient and moving. The moonlight seemed to wrap me in its embrace, and I felt an unshakable calm settle deep within me. The next morning, the whispers guided me to a towering dune with a strange opening at its base. Stepping closer, I saw an arched entrance shimmering with faint blue light. Inside was a cavern of breathtaking beauty. Crystals of every size and shape jutted from the walls, glowing with a soft, pulsing light. The air hummed with energy, a low, soothing vibration that seemed to echo the desert's whispers. As I ventured deeper, the crystal's glow intensified, casting shifting rainbows on the cavern walls. I reached a central chamber where an enormous crystal rose from the ground, its surface smooth and cool to the touch. When I placed my hand on it, the hum grew louder, resonating through my entire being. Images flashed in my mind, memories, dreams, and moments I had forgotten. It was as if the crystal was showing me my life from a new perspective, revealing connections I had never noticed. I left the cavern with a profound sense of clarity, the whispers now steady and reassuring, as though they were pleased with what I had discovered. By now, the whispers felt like old companions, their presence constant and comforting. That evening, as I sat by a small fire, they grew louder, more insistent. "Listen," they seemed to say, their tones harmonizing into a single voice. "We are the echoes of all who have walked these sands. Each step you take, each breath you draw, adds to the song of the desert." The realization struck me like a wave. The whispers weren't just random sounds, they were the collective voices of the desert's travelers, a living memory of everyone who had come before me. "You are part of this now," the whispers continued. "Your journey weaves into ours, and together, we are infinite." Tears filled my eyes as I understood the depth of their message. I wasn't alone, I never had been. The desert, with its whispers and wonders, was a tapestry of shared experience, a reminder of the eternal connection between all things. The whispers guided me to a secluded hollow surrounded by towering dunes. At its center, pulse in time with my heartbeat, its light filling me with a sense of purpose. The whispers urged me to place the vial of golden sand near the flame. When I did, the sand inside began to glow, its light blending with the flames until they were indistinguishable. I understood then that the flame had awakened something within me, a spark of resilience and hope that would never fade. The final leg of my journey took me to the heart of the desert, a place where the sands were untouched by wind or time. The air was still, and the whispers grew faint, as if holding their breath. At the center of this sacred space was a circle of stones, each one etched with intricate patterns that glowed faintly in the sunlight. I stepped into the circle, feeling a surge of energy pass through me. This is the desert's heart, the whispers said, their voices now a gentle chorus. Here, all things converge, the past, the present, and the future. It is a place of stillness, where answers are found in silence. I sat in the center of the circle, closing my eyes. The silence was profound, deeper than anything I had ever known. It wasn't empty but full, a presence that embraced me completely. In that silence, I felt a profound peace. The questions and doubts that had haunted me seemed to fade, replaced by a quiet certainty that I was exactly where I was meant to be. As the night fell over the desert's heart, the sky seemed to shift. The stars grew impossibly bright, their light forming intricate patterns that danced across the dunes. The whispers returned, soft and melodic, their tone different now, more like a lullaby. I lay back on the sand, gazing upward, and noticed something extraordinary. The stars were forming shapes, constellations that told stories. One constellation showed a figure walking through the dunes, their steps leaving trails of light. Another depicted a tree, its branches reaching toward the heavens. I realized these were the stories of past travelers, their journeys written in the stars. As I watched, a new constellation began to form, a figure sitting in a circle of stones, surrounded by a glowing flame. It was me. My journey had become part of the desert story, etched into the sky for others to see. The whispers seemed to hum with approval, their tones blending with the gentle rhythm of the wind. I felt a profound sense of belonging, as if I had finally found my place in the universe. The next morning, as I prepared to leave the desert's heart, I saw the keeper of time standing on the horizon. It moved toward me with a grace that defied logic, its form shimmering like a mirage. You have reached the heart of the desert, the keeper said, its voice resonating with a deep wisdom. But your journey is not yet complete. There is one final truth you must learn. The keeper extended its hand, and the sand beneath us began to swirl, forming a vortex that opened into a vision of the past. I saw the desert as it once was, a lush, vibrant land filled with life and laughter. This desert was born from change, the keeper said. Its whispers are the echoes of what once was and the seeds of what could be. Change is the only constant, and it is the source of all growth. The vision faded, leaving me standing in the stillness of the desert. The keeper placed a hand on my shoulder, its touch both comforting and energizing. Carry this lesson with you, traveler. You are part of the eternal cycle. With that, the keeper vanished, leaving only the faint impression of its footsteps in the sand. As I made my way out of the desert's heart, the whispers grew quieter,